HISD Dance would like to remind you to be safe while dancing. Make sure that you're wearing proper dance attire and that you clear the space around you. If you're dancing on the carpet, wear bare feet. But if you're dancing on hardwood floors or hard surfaces, make sure to wear dance shoes or non-slippery socks. Get ready to have a great time dancing.
I'm HISD dance teacher Justine Gingell. Hola, soy profesora de baile at HISD. And today, you and I are going to be learning about energy and effort in dance. Giving the same movement or string of movements different energy changes how we go about them. So every morning, you and I wake up. Some mornings, we wake up with our body feeling very heavy. Whereas other mornings, we wake up and our body is light and we can get right up. Some days, we get directly out of bed. And other days, maybe we're doing stretching or moving as we get out of bed, more indirectly. Still other days, our body and our muscles have a little bit of tension and resistance as we move. Our flow is bound, or our flow can be free and relaxed, no tension as we move through the day. Our timing could be sustained. It could take a long, slow time to move. Or staccato and sharp. Pop, pop, pop. Okay, so we are going to explore how changing the energy and the effort of your movement changes the movement itself and how the audience receives the dance you're showing them.
Es tiempo de calentar. Time to warm up. And for today's lesson, we're going to go back to December when it was cold outside. Because even though it was cold, that is one of my favorite warm-ups.
Let's begin with breathing. Feet in second position, arms out to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bend and breathe. Breathe in. And out. Breathe in. Let it out. Breathe in. And out. Fresh winter air. Breathe in. And out. Now arms go however you want. Breathe in. Out. Breathe in. And out. Breathe in. And out. Breathe in. And out. Reach out like a snowflake. Arms reaching to the corners, legs reaching to the corners, head reaching up, tail reaching down. Feel the pulling of your body. Stretch your arms out as far as you can. Reach for the walls. Breathe. 5, 6, 5, 6. Here we go. Snowflakes. Reach to the side. Curve into a snowball. Reach up. Snowflake. And snowball. 1, 2. Reach up. And down. Are you ready to try it a little faster? 5, 6, here we go. 1. Up. Snowflake. And curve. Up. Snowflake. Snowball. Snowflake. Snowball. Up. And out. Oh, like an icicle, like ice that dangles from the house or a cave. In that first combination, you really wanted to go from a straight head-tailbone connection in your snowflake. See how my cabeza y cola conexión es muy recto? And to a curvo head-tailbone connection in our snowball. So go ahead and see if you can go from curved head-tail to snowflake, muy recto, very straight. And then again, curved on the other side, straight up and out, and curved, straight out. Great job, dancers. Have you ever laid in the snow and created the shape of an angel? Jump out, reach out, jump in, come in. Reaching out, jump in, and out, and in. Jump out, jump in. You guys make great snow angels. Do you remember that this is called an échappé jump, or an échappé sauté, an escape jump? If you did, I'm impressed.
Rudolf Laban was the person who analyzed movement and found these effort factors. He realized that the effort you put into your movement changes what it looks like and how the audience receives the movement. The 4 effort factors he found that changed movement were weight, time, space, and flow. We're going to learn about them next.
Let's begin with the idea of weight. Imagining that your body is very heavy. Weight can also be if you're using your weight behind the motion, like I'm using my weight to press right now. Acting as if it takes a lot of effort, almost like an elephant moving. It's hard to have a lot of weight. How can you move with a lot of weight? Can you move your head as if it's heavy? Your arm as if it's heavy. Your leg as if it's heavy. And what would the opposite of heavy be? If an elephant is really heavy and we are imagining ourselves with big heavy bones and lots of weight on top of them, what would be the opposite? Light like a bird, where your body can move easily. And all things are possible. A bird moves very differently than an elephant. That light energy. How does your body want to move light? Great job, dancers. I want to watch. Keep moving light. And now See if you can switch to heavy, like an elephant or a large mountain. Oh, I love to see how your movement changes. You guys are really great at energy and effort already. Next, we're going to explore energy and effort when we talk about direct and indirect. Now, earlier in the year, we talked about a direct pathway and an indirect pathway. A direct pathway is a straight line from point A to point B. An indirect pathway is like a curve, a zigzag, or any crazy pathway you could possibly take. Maybe it includes a curve, a zigzag, a backup, and now you get to point B. Okay, so that's indirect when you do things on your way there. And movements can be both direct, like my foot in a tantu going directly out, or indirect. My toe is still going to end up out there, but to get there, it does an indirect movement. Let's try some direct movements now with our bodies. Can you move your arms in a direct way, straight from one point to the next? Can you move your arms indirectly? Can you use your head directly from one spot to another? Can you try it indirectly? Can you move your elbows directly? Or indirectly? Your legs indirectly. Or your legs moving directly. With purpose. Now let's talk about how much time it takes to make your movement. I can make this circle of my arm really quickly in a sudden fashion. Or I could sustain that movement a really long time. Slow and smooth. So when we talk about energy and effort and time, our movements are either sustained and smooth and slow like my arm right now, or sudden and sharp and staccato. Can you move your body both ways? Let's try staccato, kind of like a ninja. Or what else moves staccato? I'll think of something. Here we go. Sudden, sharp movements that take a small amount of time. doing what I'm doing, you can create your own sustained, smooth movement that takes a lot of time. And let's go back to sudden movements, staccato and sharp. You have created both sustained and sudden movements, and you can use both in the creation of your own dances. Use your timing, your flow, your weight to change your dance compositions or choreography and make them more interesting. Next, we're going to talk about flow. Does the movement flow freely through your body, or is it constricted? Is there muscle tension and resistance? A lot of times when we think about flow, free flowing means that you're not pushing against anything. You can just move easily. But bound flow means that there's resistance, almost like when you're swimming in water. If I swim in the air, whoosh, it's easy. But when I'm in the water, I have to sort of push against the water to move my arms, push against the water to lift or lower my legs. So free flowing movement means there's no resistance, no muscle tension, and bound movement means that we are resisting. There is muscle tension and we are pushing against something, even if it's imaginary. Are you ready to try bound versus free flow? I would love to try it with you. Remember, your movement does not have to be the same as mine, but we are both practicing bound and free-flowing movement at the same time. Let's start with free-flowing movement. You can imagine that there's no tension in your muscles, that there's no push against the air or anything around you, almost like as if you're on the moon, light and flowing. See if you can feel the energy moving through your body nice and freely. And now, let's push and resist. Bound movement, controlled. There is a little muscle tension that you can see and feel, like your muscle is constricting, tightening. Can you feel it and experience that bound energy in your body? And now choose either bound, restricted, kind of controlled, slight tension or free flowing. You decide, and I'm going to see if I can watch and tell which you've chosen. Ooh, I see people moving free. And I see other people with their flow bound, controlled muscle tension. Really great dancers. I'm so impressed with all of this fabulous dancing I can see. Now you know about space, direct and indirect, about weight, heavy or light, about flow, bound with tension and using your muscles, or free with no resistance at all, and time, sustained and continuing, or sudden. And these different qualities of energy in your movement are what change a simple arm reach out into something very different. So I can reach my arm directly out. If I were to want to throw a punch, don't throw a punch, but if I wanted to, it's that same motion of putting my hand out, except it's sudden. It has a lot of weight behind it. It's direct from one place to the next, and it definitely has that muscle tension of bound movement. But I can totally change that same movement of reaching my arm out and forward to a dab. It's direct, light, free-flowing, and it's still sudden. Like when you press the elevator button. Even still, sometimes we could reach our hand out for a handshake. A handshake would be indirect because our arms and our hands are waving to get to that final destination. It could be heavy if you're tired, or very light if you're not, depending on how you choose to do your handshake. But if you do the handshake right, they say they like a firm handshake, and a firm handshake is definitely bound. It takes just a little bit of tension in your muscle. And it's sustained. Because if I was sudden with my handshake, I'd scare somebody. They might think that I was going to poke them or punch them, because those are very sudden movements. So even when you take weight, space, time, and flow, you can change your movement very easily. These ideas about how we move, how we think about movement, and how we describe movement so that we can recreate it come from a man named Rudolf Laban. Laban loved movement, and he was so interested in it that he created a way of talking about and documenting movement over 100 years ago. Now, he came up with Laban movement effort actions. And the idea is that every movement we create, it falls into one of these categories based on how we create the movement in our body. One of those is the punch. Remember, we just went over the punch. The punch is direct, it's heavy, it's bound with tense muscles and resistance, and it is sudden. But you don't have to just punch with your arms. anytime a movement is heavy, sudden, bound, direct, that's considered a punch. So I could punch with my head, with my elbow, with my foot, or with my knee. Our next movement is like a ninja. Get your ninja attitude on because it's a slash. A slash is indirect, but it definitely has weight behind it. It's sudden to catch your enemy off guard, and it's definitely bound. You want to use your muscles and your tension and your resistance to make it. Can you slash with your arms? Can you slash with your legs? Can you slash with your elbow? Or even your shoulder? You can. You're so amazing. Let's move on to another Laban movement, effort, action. Now let's move on what it means. Now let's move on to what it means to press. Oh my gosh, if I were to press against this wall, would I be using my muscles? I would. So is that bound or free energy? If I'm using the tension in my muscles, that's bound, right? I'm going to use the muscles in my body to press. Now, is this a sudden movement or is it sustained and continuing? It's sustained. There's nothing sudden about a press. Is it heavy? Is the weight of my body behind it? Yes, it is. You guys are so amazing. And my last question is it direct? Does it go straight from one place to another, or is it indirect? It goes other places before getting to its end destination. A press is direct. It's heavy. It's sustained, and the flow is bound. You guys are so right. Let's see if we can press with our foot. Can you press with your elbow? Can you press with your hand? Can you press with your knee? Push. Ooh, you guys are really, really good at press. Amazing. Let's move on. Now that you know how to press, let's wring something. When we wring something like a towel that's gotten soaked, we're trying to squeeze it and twist it. So if we are squeezing and twisting our muscles, that squeeze in the muscle is definitely free energy flow. Am I right? No, I was trying to trick you. That is bound. My muscles are squeezing as I twist. It is sustained. It's continuing. And a wringing motion is kind of a twist. So anytime you twist or wiggle, that's definitely not a direct pathway. So our space is indirect as I wring my arms in a heavy, sustained bound movement, indirect movement. And let me wring my legs. Wring, heavy, bound, sustained, indirect movement. See if you can wring different parts of your body, twisted with weight and sustained motion. Nothing sudden, everything heavy. Great job, dancers. Wringing in movement is kind of hard if you've never done it. But earlier this year, you got some practice by creating twisted shapes. Now we're turning that twist into a movement. I love it. Let's move on to a glide, like a glissade in ballet. Does that look heavy? No, it's very light, but it has a very specific beginning and end position, and it goes directly from one to the other. So a glide is direct and light. The energy is free-flowing, and the movement, the timing is usually sustained. See if you can glide, be light, be sustained, have free-flowing movement. How can your arm glide? How can your feet glide? How can your head glide? Our next Laban movement, effort, action is to float. When I think of something floating, I might think of a feather floating to the ground. A feather doesn't drop directly down. It's rather indirect as it catches the air, sways side to side, and finally floats to the ground. When I think of like a beach ball in a pool, the same thing happens. The beach ball is kind of indirect with the waves moving it from side to side as it moves across the pool. And so when we float, our movement is going to be indirect. We might go forward and backward just to finally get where we're headed. Does it look heavy to float? Is a feather heavy? If a feather was heavy, could it float? No, floating is very light. Excellent, so we know that floating is light. It is indirect. Does it look bound, like my muscles have tension and resistance? No, it is free and flowing with no resistance at all. See if you can make your body float. Dancers, we learned that a dab, like pressing the elevator button, is light, free. shoulder, your arm, your leg, down, down, down. How can you use your body to dab? Flick is similar to a dab in that it's sudden, but it doesn't go from here to there. A flick goes somewhere else, like a circle, before it gets there. A flick still has free energy and a sudden quality to it. But it's indirect. See if you can flick. I'm gonna watch you for a moment. Remember, it's sudden, indirect, free-flowing, and light. Great job, dancers. You've learned so much about how to describe, analyze, and think about movement. And you've learned how the different efforts that you put behind your movements change the way people see and understand your movement and your dances.
Many times in life, dance is influenced by art, poetry, writing, the natural world, relationships, and the things, people, and places dancers visit. Today, I was inspired to create a poem about energy. And I was hoping that my inspiration around energy and effort might inspire you to dance a certain way. I'll read my poem, and as I bring up different energy, effort factors, see if you can move in the moment and create them in your body. Explore. Energy is heavy, bound, light, free me. Energy is movement in dance in me.
Great job today, dancers. High five. Well, that's it for this week. I'm so proud of you and everything you've accomplished. Until next week, that's it for HISD Dance Today. Bye. Adios.